Hi everyone, our subject today, nose bleeding, epistaxis in pediatrics. Basics. Epistaxis in children is a common condition which is usually benign and self-limiting, but often cause significant parental anxiety. About 30% of children aged under 5 years and over 50% of those aged 6 to 10 years experience at least one episode of epistaxis. Incidence is rare before 2 years of age and uncommon after puberty. The nasal mucosa of the nasal septum has a rich vascular supply arising from convergence of both internal and external carotid arteries, Klesibach plexus. Epistaxis is classified on the basis of bleeding side into anterior and posterior. The majority of bleeding, over 90%, originate from the anterior caudal septum. This location, with its thin mucosa, is predisposed to trauma such as local irritation. Epistaxis may, however, be a sign of serious systemic disease such as coagulopathy or vascular disorder such as hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia. When dealing with the severe epistaxis, assessment of the vital sign, airway, and circulation stability are more important than the bleeding itself. History. Origin of the bleeding, bilateral or unilateral, duration and severity of the bleed. Prior nose bleeding include frequency, duration, severity, and laterality, associated nasal obstruction, associated symptom of rhinorrhea, nasal congestion, nasal discharge, recent upper respiratory tract infection, recent sinusitis, halitosis, or fever, history of nasal or facial trauma, history of possible foreign body, medical history, including pre-existing medical conditions, medication or drugs of abuse, personal or family history of bleeding, easy bruising, or petechia suggesting an underlying and undiagnosed coagulopathy. Physical examination, complete physical exam including vital sign, especially tachycardia to suggest acute blood loss, skin, pallor, perfusion, mucosal bleeding, bruising, and petechia, oropharynx to assess for bruising and petechia, respiratory distress, hepatosplenomegaly, and lymphadenopathy. The nasal cavity should be viewed using good light source and nasal speculum for optimal visualization of any source of bleeding. Clots preventing adequate visualization should be cleared gently. Visualization may be enhanced with the application of a topical vasoconstrictor medication such as phenylphridine. This may be applied by nasal spray or gauze cotton soaked in the solution. Simple differentiation between the common causes of the epistaxis. Trauma, there is possible diagnosis by history, with the symptom as the only bleeding. Severe epistaxis possible, likely recurrence. Inflammation can be diagnosed by history, possible the only symptom, with the possible recurrence. Coagulopathy could be diagnosed by history. There is severe epistaxis, recurrence is likely, and abnormal blood test. Foreign body, possible, diagnosed by history, only the symptom and severe epistaxis. Drugs can be diagnosed by history with possible recurrence and possibly can be diagnosed by blood examination. Recommended investigation, complete blood count to check for hemoglobin in case of massive bleeding, platelet count for thrombocytopenia. Coagulation screen with the prothrombin time for vitamin K deficiency, partial thromboplastin time to screen for hemophilia, further clotting study if coagulation screen are abnormal, imaging with CT scan or magnetic resonance imaging for severe and frequent epistaxis. Studies suggest that 5 to 10% of children with the chronic recurrent nose bleeding may have mild undiagnosed von Willebrand disease, so consider further laboratory tests to include plasma von Willebrand factor antigen, von Willebrand factor activity, and factor VIII activity. Persistent unilateral bleeding warrant nasal endoscopy to rule out neoplasm. Top tips. Epistaxis is usually self-limiting and require no investigation. Frequent and severe epistaxis should be investigated for underlying disorders such as coagulopathy or tumor. Distinguishing local from systemic cause of epistaxis is essential for applying appropriate therapy. The child should undergo through physical examination to exclude systemic disease such as coagulopathy, leukemia, or von Willebrand disease. The parent will appreciate their child's blood pressure being checked as they may consider hypertension to be the cause. Hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia is autosomal dominant with a prevalence of 1 to 5,000 people. Telangiectasia can occur on oral or on nasal mucosa, face, and fingers. In imaging epistaxis, the nostril should be compressed and the child kept in upright position with the head tilted forward to avoid blood trickling posteriorly in the pharynx. If bleeding stops, the child is sent home after 30 minutes of observation. If not, electrocoagulation or silver nitrate cautery is applied. Red flag. Any epistaxis occurring under the age of 2 years, particularly if severe, require investigation to exclude systemic disease. Blood dyscrasia, urgent referral to an ENT specialist is indicated. In adolescents with recurrent epistaxis and nasal ulcer, consider the possibility of cocaine use. Although people often associate epistaxis with the hypertension, this is rarely the cause, but can make them difficult to control. Be aware, however, that anxiety from having epistaxis may cause mild hypertension. Be aware that epistaxis at night may cause swallowing of blood, leading to hematemesis and or melena occurring in the next morning. Epistaxis originating from the posterior bleeding site is uncommon in children and is usually profuse. Inflammation or neoplasm should be excluded. Be aware that massive epistaxis is often the first and only symptom of the hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia before the appearance of the characteristic skin and mucosal membrane lesion, occurring in 80%. Around 20% of patients having pulmonary arteriovenous malformation that may present as stroke due to embolic abscess. Disease complication may result in premature death. Screening for organ involvement is essential: pulmonary, liver, gastrointestinal, AV malformation. Juvenile nasal angiofibroma is a benign tumor of the nasopharynx that usually present with the nasal obstruction and epistaxis. The tumor may be mistaken as nasal polyps, while a foul-smelling or a blood-tinged unilateral discharge suggests a foreign body, particularly in toddlers. A persistent bloody discharge always suggests a tumor, including malignancy. Causes of epistaxis. Trauma. In children, the most common cause of epistaxis is local trauma from nose picking or local mucosal irritation with the upper respiratory tract infection, rhinitis or sinusitis, nasal vestibulitis, colonization of the nasal cavity with the Staphylococcus aureus. Direct nasal or facial trauma, foreign body in the nares, local trauma, mucosal irritation from improper application of intranasal corticosteroid, or sniffing inhalants like glue or illicit drugs such as cocaine or heroin. Non-accidental trauma should be considered in infant. Bleeding in non-mobile children should be considered due to bleeding disorder. Nasal neoplasm are rare but are suggested by recurrent, persistent unilateral bleeding and nasal obstruction, juvenile angiofibroma, papilloma, hemangioma. In pediatrics population, epistaxis is less likely a sign of systemic illness. Bleeding disorder, von Willebrand disease, hemophilia, ITP, hematologic malignancies, coagulopathy secondary to systemic infection, hepatic disease, renal failure, heparin, enoxaparin, warfarin, chronic aspirin use, or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Alternative medications such as garlic, ginkgo, ginseng inhibits platelet function. Local structural vascular abnormalities, septal deviation, retinitis, Zika, spurs, nasal polyps, telangiectasia, Osler-Weber-Raynaud disease. More than 90% of children with epistaxis do not have an underlying systemic cause. Peers and pitfalls. Getting through history is essential in identifying any associated or predisposing condition. Improper application of pressure on the anterior nares location and duration is a common cause of treatment failure for anterior bleeding. Not looking carefully for a potential source of unilateral bleeding may result in failure to diagnose a nasal foreign body or tumor. Failure to consider bleeding disorder or non-accidental tumor in infants presenting with nose bleeding. Frequently asked question: how should I explain to a child to stop a nose bleeding that occur at home? The child or parents should apply pressure by compressing the lateral cartilaginous surface of the external nose together for at least 5 minutes. It is important to keep the head elevated and not hyperextended to avoid aspiration of blood. This can be accomplished either by sitting or standing while bending forward slightly at the waist. Avoid lying down or tilting the head backward. Avoid checking prior to 5 minutes have elapsed to see if bleeding has ceased. When should I work up a patient to ensure there is not underlying systemic cause of epistaxis? Most children do not require laboratory evaluation. If history or physical examination is concerning or the child has a chronic recurrent epistaxis, initial laboratory evaluation may include complete blood count with platelet and coagulation panel. In addition, you can consider checking for von Willebrand disease, as data suggests that up to 5 to 10% of children with the chronic recurrent epistaxis may have mild form of the disease. Thank you for your listening.